It's not just in Anfield that there's deprivation. Driving around parts of Liverpool, it's shocking to see the number of grim estates, boarded up houses and vandalised shops. There's an overwhelming feeling of poverty here. In the year 2000, 41% of Liverpudlians were judged to live on the breadline. Liverpool is a very poor city. And along with that comes crime and violence. Traditionally, boxing has flourished in working class areas as a way to channel some of this violence and offer an escape. It's perhaps not a surprise that Liverpool has more amateur boxing clubs for its size than any other city in Britain. The Rotunda Boxing Club in Vauxhall is used by an extraordinary Liverpool family. 4 brothers, all prize fighters.
Stephen Smith, boxer at the Rotunda, 21. I'm 9-time national champion, Commonwealth Games gold medalist and a European bronze medalist.
Liam Schmidt, 18, boxer at the Rotunda, 3-time national champion and 4 nations champion.
Callum Smith, 17, junior ABA champion.
Paul Smith, 24, 5-time national champion as an amateur and now currently 20 and 0 as a pro.
Alexi Sale, 107 years old, award-losing author. Boxing's like a really big thing in Liverpool. Why would you say that was?
I think it's just a working class sort of thing with people. People can relate to boxers because not anyone could do it, but anyone can come in and try and do it. And if you've got a talent and you stick at it, then obviously, it makes something good with people. But you don't get many middle-class boxers.
Yeah, you don't. But being a writer's tough too. You have to go to Hay Festival and
your poor fingers must be sore all the time, mustn't they?
I mean, it's always been the case that some hard kid, if he gets into boxing, it's going to deflect him from the kind of crime route. I mean, is that part of the purpose of boxing? I mean, do you see it as that, or?
I think it does. It does work that way most of the time because if you're out on the streets and if you're coming in the gym, you're not going to be on the streets. And I think it changes your outlook on life in a different way when you start boxing and teaches a lot of respect and discipline and, to an extent, manners. And that if you get a cocky kid coming in a boxing gym, he can be hard as anything on the street, but you put him in with someone who isn't so hard on the street, but you give him a boxing lesson in the ring and embarrass him, So I don't think there's many big-headed kids that walk in gyms. It's pretty intimidating when you first walk in.
Do you miss out on, do you feel like you miss out on like social life and stuff like that, getting blind drunk?
Not really. It depends on how you look at it. I could say, I've boxed in like 20-odd different countries. I've been all over the world, Korea and Australia and everything. So I've seen the world through boxing and through doing the sport, which I love really. And so there's not many people who can say that. Many people can say like, oh, I'm out every night, like hanging around by the Mackies and stuff like that. But I can say, yeah, I'm going to Korea or India next week or America or something. So just different. It depends what you want out of life, really.
Yeah.
I've got loads of identification with these boys in the gym. Working class lads from a rough neighbourhood whose success has been forged in the face of adversity. I think I'm lying to myself.
Whoa. And again.
Liverpool is a self-consciously working class city. But of course, it has its nice suburbs, inhabited by all those people who are simply quietly studying for their accountancy exams, digging their allotments, or training to be brain surgeons. And there's even really posh people. As a teenage communist, I thought that come the revolution, the landed aristocracy would be the first to go. But today, rather than storming the gates of Knowsley Hall, red flag aloft, I've been invited here to meet Liverpool's only Earl, Lord Derby. He might be an endangered species today, but in the past, dukes and earls ran wild across the city. Lord Derby lives in this Arcadian splendour with his wife, children and a pride of lions in the attached safari park. So, Lord Derby, can you tell me about the house?
Yeah, it's the house is an incredible mixture of centuries and generations. There's 3 sort of old sort of medieval families, if you like. There's the Moores family that we all know about from the pools and the shops and Liverpool Football Club.
They're in trade.
And then there was the Molyneux family, the head of the family being the Earl of Sefton, and that title died out in the 1970s.
Yeah.
So this is the only substantial, well, the only stately home lived in by the original family in the Liverpool area now.
Does people often say then, you know, I mean, challenge you on your Scousness, your Liverpoolness, the authenticity of it?
Actually, every reason why there should, you know, Liverpool is, you could say, quite a working class city. Clearly, I am not, but I think there's always been quite a long history and a link between the family. People think the title Derby comes from the city of Derby, but it isn't at all. It's the West Derby Hundred of Lancashire, so it's modern-day Liverpool and Merseyside. And I have to say, I've always met an incredibly warm and friendly reception wherever I've gone in the city.
I was going to say, yeah, there was a Scouse when you said Liverpool. There was a definite Scouse inflection there. Would you say having a house surrounded by lions is a good security measure, should I?
I think it's got to be a great help on security, hasn't it?
Yeah, you must never really fear for... have you ever had a confused resident of Stockbridge Village wandering amongst the lions?
No, thankfully not. No, we did one bank holiday weekend. We did have it was an actress from Brookside, and her car caught fire in the middle of the lion enclosure, and there were cars in front and cars behind, and it was a bit of a panic. The lions were offered the food a bit early that day to get them back inside.
You never got anybody in here going, "Hey, Marie, the cat's grown." The cat's gone gigantic. People like a simple story, don't they? Liverpool is a city of radicals. Liverpool is a city of thieves. Liverpool is a city of wags. But to me, there are no simple stories.
This is the walnut drawing room, which I think is amazing.
If you have a fixed idea of Liverpool, this is probably not it. But Lord Derby's Liverpool is as real as anybody else's. And yet, from Knowsley Hall, you can see the tower blocks of one of Liverpool's poorest areas. And I suppose I should have confronted him about the injustice of being a rich aristocrat in the centre of such a poor city. But one thing I've found out about myself on this journey is that I'm not like that. In fact, perhaps that's the most shocking thing I've discovered. At heart, I'm a nice, polite boy. Not the aggressive, hard-man Scouser of me act. Does this make me more or less of a Scouser? I don't suppose it makes any difference at all. But I still maintain that there is something different about the people. And the place I'm most aware of this is at the pub. I started drinking when I was about 14 and a half. This was one of the places that I used to do it in. And right away, I got this impression of an incredible mixture of violence, drunkenness, and erudite conversation. I can remember many nights a fight breaking out in here over whether Wittgenstein had conclusively disproved Russell's Principia Mathematica or the effects of the Marshall Plan on post-war German reconstruction. Today, this culture is taking a more genteel but no less distinctively Liverpudlian form with a group called Philosophy in Pubs, started by ex-brickie Paul Doran.
And that's a real understanding, and that's a benefit to our being in the world, to our happiness and understanding of things, and rather just using categories and using concept. I came late to education. I was 45 before I went to university, bricklayer before that. And anyway, as a consequence of going to university, I realised the usefulness of philosophy. Once I had the tools to think with, I wanted to disseminate that among my own class. And so here we are, 5.5 years later. We've got 9 groups across the city and Merseyside, and that other towns and cities are interested in doing it and are doing it as well.
I really admire this aspect of Liverpool culture. The fact that whether you're in the pub or at the bus stop, people aren't afraid to tackle big ideas. Maybe it's nostalgia, I don't know. But I don't think you'd find this sort of culture in other provincial cities. Of course, there are loads of different Scousers, but is there anything that unites us and makes us different? As with all roads in Liverpool, I've found that in my search to answer this, I too keep on ending up at this muddy river. The fact that the city looks out to sea has meant the flow of different ideas, attitudes and people have all mixed together to create a culture that is unique in Britain. But despite all these celebratory words, when I left Liverpool all those years ago, I felt constrained by the place. Now maybe Liverpool has changed, or more likely I have. But what I've come to realise is that for me, Liverpool is home.
Making this series has been a real journey for me, much more so than I imagined. It's been exhilarating, frightening, and sometimes frustrating. But the main thing that I've learned is that things that I thought weren't important to me actually are. A sense of community, a sense of friendliness on the street, and more than anything else, a sense of being amongst my own people. And as a result of that, I will certainly be looking for a place here and to buy or to rent, and I'll certainly be spending more time here in the future. Which is not to say that Liverpool is perfect, because it isn't. It's had some very dark places in its history. It's not always been well run, and occasionally it's not entirely safe, but then what exciting, vibrant city is. The one thing that is certain is that although I'm going away now, I will return. And when I do, I'll be bringing houseplants.
Country Life